Welcome back to another video, and today I'll be discussing the newest makeup announcements and releases. Welcome back, and after a week break we are back with the normally scheduled program. So for those of you who did not maybe watch all the way through my couple of previous videos, I was on a holiday trip with my husband, so this was a pre-planned break in my channel, and we were in Poland, and then we were in Germany, and we were there about 5 days, and I do have to say that it was a very successful trip, unless you ignore the fact that we did have some issues with the train connections, because especially in Germany there was a lot of railway track work, and that meant there were like little bit changes in our travel plan. After we are done with this particular video, I am going to be filming a sort of travel makeup haul. I was meant to actually film a makeup review video today, but I am a bit tight in terms of my filming time today, so that is the reason why we are moving the review video for the next week. But during this week I am gonna show, after this makeup news video, you are able to then get the second video for this week, which is going to be all the makeup that I bought, because I did, of course, when I travel I do like to especially buy things that are a little bit maybe more hard to access for me in my home country, so that is why I thought that it would be nice to actually show all the things that I got while I was traveling. But that a little bit about where have I been and such, but let's now move to the makeup news. There's been, of course, a lot of releases, because there's obviously now been almost 2-week break since I did the last makeup news video. And one thing definitely that I'm gonna say, I always say this on my channel, I think yearly, but I'm a big fan of holiday and Christmas makeup, but it's way too early to discuss those, so I have archived the sort of holiday launches that have already been sneak peeked in a separate Instagram folder, but we have a rule in this channel that especially during July we are definitely not talking about holiday releases yet. So when we get to August, I will be then doing a separate section on my makeup news video going through the holiday launches that have been revealed so far, because I think it's just ridiculous how early we get the Christmas makeup sneak peeks these days. But just so you know, I am quite aware that there's already been quite a few holiday sneak peeks, but I'm still on summer holiday. I refuse to talk about holiday makeup, even though it's my favorite theme of makeup, as a general, but it's just way too early. But all the other releases that I did pick up, and I did have to do some choosing which I'm gonna talk about, otherwise this video would be over an hour long video, and I know that's not probably enjoyable to watch. So I will be showcasing the best picks from the last couple of weeks, since it's been a bit of a break in terms of discussing the newest makeup announcements on this channel. Alright, and let's get the show on the roll, and you will be always, as always, seeing the images of the products that I'm discussing on this section of the screen. And I would invite you to check the description box. I always list the Instagram accounts that have made the edits, because I do think it's important to give credit to the accounts that have do collect these and post about these new releases, because otherwise it would be very cumbersome to dig through all the brands' Instagram accounts separately. So please do give the accounts that I'm listing on the description box a follow if you are on Instagram. So first one, this is P. Louise's budget box, and this is actually the budget box for the month of July. You actually still do have a bit of time to order this, and with this budget boxes it's always a bit funky, so the July budget box is actually not gonna ship until the end of July or the beginning of August, so that is why you still have time to get this one. I would really wish that they would rather just have the budget box name as in the month that it's actually going to be shipped out to you, because I do know this causes a lot of confusion. I have seen on a lot of P. Louise's budget box videos and promo images, the comments that, hey, why hasn't my budget box shipped yet? And it does say on the FAQ section of the shipping information of this budget boxes that you're not gonna get it until the very end of the month or the beginning of next month, but that is not something that I think they should maybe be a bit more clear about that when they advertise these budget boxes, or just change the names responding to the month that it's actually going to be shipped to the customer. I don't always show these budget boxes, because some of them are pretty skincare heavy and I focus in these videos for makeup, but this one for the July, it is actually pretty makeup heavy. So this one, there is a animal print theme on this one, and in this box there are two new liquid blushes in their Cheek of It formula. I actually have quite a few of these blushes. I actually do buy occasionally from P. Louise. I actually do think as a liquid blush formula, this is a pretty good formula. Then I think there is a mascara. They have a lip gloss included, and I think that's a body sort of glitter or body spray that is also included. This is something that I did make the decision that I'm not gonna get this one. I have sometimes ordered these budget boxes individually. You can order these either as a subscription or then you can buy a box individually, but in this one, like the cheek of it liquid blushes would have been perhaps the thing that I would be most interested, but I don't think, considering just how much blush I have and considering that, as I said, there's going to be a whole video following this particular video during the week, you're seeing this, and I think I, again, just overbought blush, even though I have plenty of it in my drawers. But yeah, the blushes were the most interesting thing on this box for me, but as a whole, it's not a box that I want to order. But if you do like the theming of this budget box, this is actually like P. Louise's way of actually launching brand new products, which is very different from what we usually see from these bundle boxes or from mystery boxes. So I do think it's kind of a bit different from how makeup industry usually works. But for me, nothing interesting in this one. But as I said, you can still order this one, and it's gonna be actually, it's maybe actually better to always order these at the end of the month, because then you don't have to wait that long for them to ship out. Then something that was pretty, I would say, exciting, considering that this is actually one of my ultimate favorite palettes from my collection. So Glam Bunny brought back the Dollhouse palette. So this, I think, has been one of the more requested palettes from the brand, and they did have this available for quite some time, but obviously at some point it was getting a bit old and they wanted to do new things. But now this Dollhouse palette, you are able to buy this again. They did redesign the cover of this one, and I think the matte selection is supposed to be the same as was in the original Dollhouse palette, but the shimmers are in their upgraded formula. So I'm kind of still considering that, do I want to buy this? The one that I still have is pretty much good to go. It's one of the few palettes that I actually tend to dig out even outside of my makeup rotation, and I do use it like regularly all year around on certain occasions. And I just think for me this is the like ultimate favorite neutrals palette, but there are also like other things than just neutrals included, and it's just such a beautiful palette. But yeah, I think I have come into conclusion that unless my Dollhouse palette is like, if I'm gonna start finding mold in it or something else that is clearly indicating that it's no longer good to use, then I could probably be tempted to buy this one. But I think the upgraded shimmer formula, it's not enough for me to want to order, because it is still a big palette, and I do, for example, the mattes in my palette that I still have, those are still very good to go. I haven't seen any signs in those that they would be aging or that they would not work out as well. And also the shimmer formula in the original the original Dollhouse palette, yeah, it's definitely a different kind of shimmer formula than what they do these days, but I would still say actually that from my usage it's good enough. So for me, even though this is a very tempting thing for me to like buy, but I don't think, because the shades are still the same, and I do think even though the shimmer formula is reformulated, I still think it's still like the same shade, so they didn't redo any of the shades. So I think so far, I think I'm good. But if you did miss out the Dollhouse palette, and as I said, this is one of my favorite Glam Bunny palettes ever to like release, I would like highly recommend getting this one, because I do think it's a beautiful palette. So Clarins is coming out with a concealer. So this is the Skin Illusion all-in-one concealer, and it is supposed to be to fit it to normal to oily to combination oily combination dry. So basically they're saying that this is supposed to work in every single skin type. That's an interesting claim, considering that usually it's either or. I think this is based on their foundation that they have had in their line for quite some time. 24 hours natural courage, luminous matte finished. So I think it's meant to be more face satin kind of concealer. This would probably suit my skin type, which is a combo dry, but I would still say that maybe to an like super dry skin would this still be okay. It's interesting that they are making the claim that this is supposed to suit like every kind of skin type that there's out there. Like obviously I think with makeup products, especially base products, I don't think this is going to be something that's going to suit everyone. I do think that if it's a luminous matte finish, which for me kind of indicates that it's actually a satin finish, I think for that would kind of indicate that if you are suffering from a super dry skin, this might not be for you. But considering that Clarins is quite widely accessible, especially in traditional department stores, and I think like for me this could be a finish, the concealer finish that would work out, but maybe not for all skin types as this is claiming to be. Then something especially for those of you living in the US, so Vanngo has expanded his makeup range and he is launching a foundation, and I do have to say for a first foundation launch this is a very extensive shade range. I am quite impressed. It's $46 US, so it's pretty much on par with other high-end foundations. I think in terms of price point it's quite in line with other, especially Sephora sold brands. And what is this supposed to be? Concentrated yet weightless Longwear Serum foundation that delivers medium to full coverage with a hydrated natural blurred finish. So I think this is indicating that, again, it might be more on the satin or even maybe a bit on the luminous side. I think if you suffer from a super oily skin, then this might not be actually a foundation for you, because I don't think this would be something that would last through the whole day. But yeah, I have always said that I really would wish Vanngo would be sold in Europe, because this is, I think, currently something that you can only order from their own website, which I think is US based, and then you can get this from US Sephora's. But I really do like this sort of like bright red branding, and just altogether I do think, like, considering that this is just a brand that has, it's not that old of a brand. I think they launched last year and they are already like expanding into base products. Like, I think it's pretty impressive. But this might be a brand that it's under a umbrella company. I don't necessarily think that the makeup artist that the name that is the brand is named after, I don't think he necessarily actually owns the brand himself. But yeah, as I said, I think if you are someone who has a bit of a combo dry skin or even a dry skin, this could work out, but maybe not for if you suffer from super oily skin. Okay, then we have a release from Natasha Denona, and I really would wish I think she, like, I get it that she has to probably, like, because talking about Sephora, I think Sephora might have, I have heard this one somewhere else, so this is not like most trustworthy source, but I believe Sephora might have a condition that that you have to launch certain amount of products during the year in order to, like, stay on their, like, product, like, generally on their selection, and then if you especially have the gondolas in, like, US Sephora stores. So Natasha Denona has come out with another mini eyeshadow palette. So this is the mini bloom palette. This is obviously based on the blue, like, midi-sized bloom palette that was the spring launch last year, actually do on the original palette. So why I'm kind of saying, like, why I kind of wanted to bring out that, for example, Sephora, I've heard that they might have this kind of condition, especially in the US, that you have to launch a certain amount of product. This kind of feels like a product that that she kind of launched because she maybe has some kind of obligation to launch something, not necessarily because this is anything innovative. I do think, in considering, like, the mini palettes, there are quite a few, like, especially neutral peachy leaning mini palettes, and even the midi-sized palettes within her makeup range. This isn't, like, what I would say, anything exciting, and I really would wish, I already said when we got the, like, midi palette launch for this summer, which was this top brownish bronzy palette, I was, like, already like then saying that I really wish we would see some kind of also exciting eyeshadow palette release, because Natasha Denona by now has quite many neutral palette options, even in her, like, midi palettes, but also in these mini palettes. And yeah, it's a more peachy leaning palette, but I do still think at the end of the day the looks are probably going to be quite neutral leaning when you look at the color story. So this is a skip for me, and I hope we are going to see some, like, more exciting palette releases, which I'm not that excited, like, not holding my breath that to happen, because I have seen some sneak peeks already online that the next midi palette is probably also going to be another neutral palette. I have seen, like, rumors that it would be the I Need a Nude would be getting an I Need a Cool variation, which I would normally be excited about, but we have, like, honestly, Natasha, could we get something like the Yucca palette, or then we had the purple palette a few years ago, or actually was that during last year? Anyway, but there was the midi-sized purple palette. Like, I would really wish we would get, like, something different than neutrals. I think we are now seeing a bit too many neutral palettes for one single makeup brand. Then something that's definitely not neutral. So Little has come out with another collection with Avatar was it the Avatar the Airbender, and now I think this one is the Legend of Korra, which is sort of an expansion to the Avatar series. I'm not that familiar with that particular anime franchise, so forgive me if I'm getting something wrong. In terms of the color stories, these are definitely, I'm looking at the 9 pans of the palettes, like, definitely something colorful, but these are pretty blue and green heavy eyeshadow 9 pans, so these are not something for me. The blushes are kind of, or the cheek products, I'm a bit unsure, are those highlighters or blushes, but the cheek products are looking kind of cool, and then I think aside from that there are some lip products, and I think those might be liquid eyeliners. So I think this is very on brand, at least based on what I have seen from this particular animation, but for me this is not an animation that I have been a fan of, because I haven't watched this particular series, and also the color stories as whole are not something that I'm excited about. But if you were looking for something colorful from indie, especially something more purple and green in terms of eyeshadows and maybe some other interesting products, this is already available on Lidl's website. Then we have something interesting from Moira. So I was a bit surprised that this is actually from Moira, because I was initially thinking that, okay, is this an indie release? But no, this is from Moira. So this is the Chroma Kiss PH Tint Oil. Now, why this is interesting is that for me this lip oil looks to be having to some kind of multichrome and duochrome effect, but then it also say that it's a pH tint, which means that it's still gonna turn your lips pink. So I'm a bit curious how this is gonna work. I assume there might be a component to this one that once the gloss layer wears off, you are basically gonna be ending up with a pink lip, at least based on the promo images that I'm looking, but the sort of lip, like the oil layer, is supposed to give some kind of like multichrome or duochrome effect. Well, I'm a big fan of my multichrome and duochrome eyeshadows. I'm still a bit unsure, is this a concept that I want actually on my lip products, because with my lip makeup I am kinda would wish to have a, you know, the lip color to be same no matter what angle you're watching from. So in terms of lips, I'm a bit unsure, do we need this sort of multichrome and duochrome effect for them, but I am kind of like excited to see that Moira, which is a more mainstream and especially a bit more affordable brand, it's like kind of cool to see them experimenting with things. I'm still not a fan of the pH thing, because it's still gonna turn well, not everyone's, because everyone's skin tone's a bit different, but at least on my particular skin tone, it's still gonna be a pink lip color at the end of the day. But it's an interesting concept, so I would probably maybe not buy this one, but I would be curious to see someone reviewing this and seeing like how effective is the multichrome duochrome effect on your lips when you apply this one. Okay, and we are seeing more of these lip stain kind of products. So Urban Decay is coming out with their lip toy staining brush lip liner, and I think if you have seen the NYX or Huda Beauty product, this is pretty similar. So I think the idea is that it is supposed to be you are left with a stain, and it's more of a, I don't know, maybe like a marker kind of product. So this kind of is saying that it's a more of a lip liner, so maybe you can get a bit more precise application with this one compared to some of the other products. I mean, the good side of these ones are this kind of lip marker products is that they are quite long lasting, so actually for lip lining purposes this might not actually be that bad of a product, but for me so far these have not been that appealing that I would have wished to try one out. But if you are looking for something long lasting and you want to get this from Urban Decay, I think this is already available, at least in the US. So ColourPop is coming out with another Pokémon collection, and this is the Eeveelution, which is basically a wordplay on Eevee, which I think is one of the more like popular Pokémons, because Eevee, I was a huge Pokémon fan when I was on elementary school. They actually started showing the show when I was like on my first grade in our country, and I was like a huge fan. I had the collection cards, I had some comics, and yeah, a huge fan. Like this is actually a like anime that has a very like special place in my heart, even though these days I don't actually watch like any kind of anime. But yeah, and Eevee definitely, though when I was a kid, this is gonna show how old I am, because when I was a kid there was only like 3 evolutions. I think it was Flareon, Volteon, and I think then there was the Vaporeon, which was the water one. So there were like only 3 variations. I know that these days, because there are like some small children, like my friends have small kids, I do know these days Eevee, actually there's like plenty of more evolutions that have come ever since, but when I was a child there was only 3 ones. There were like the OG ones. But yeah, in this collection they're actually I think those are the stick eyeshadows. Those are actually based on the 3 original evolution forms, and then you have the like more evolutions on the like cover of the eyeshadow palette, which I think like are all the ones that there are. And then there's a headband. I actually do like this eyeshadow palette more than the original Pokemon collection eyeshadow palette. That one was pretty big. It was pretty big and basic, like more of a all rainbow palette. I actually like the smaller one in this particular collection because it's a more like curated, colorful eyeshadow palette. So ColourPop is a bit difficult to order these days, well, it was difficult to order before, but before it was maybe a bit more worth it because the drugstore selection here in Europe wasn't that good, but I think now it's maybe not worth it, and considering that these days there's like quite a lot of like extra cost related to ordering things from overseas. So for me this is a skip, but I do think that if this would be something that would be more easily accessible, I could maybe be tempted to get this one because, I mean, it's an Eevee Pokemon collection. Like, this one is much more appealing as a Pokemon collaboration than the previous one that ColourPop launched. We are having a few things from NARS. So NARS first, we are getting 3 new eyeshadow quads. I do have to say, like, raise your hand if you would have been able to. If I would not have told you that these are new NARS quads, would you have actually, like, said that these are new? Like, I get it, NARS is a very, like, considering I think who their target customer is, I can understand that these are probably not meant to be anything that exciting, but I honestly think that these do look a bit too samey to what they already have. But if you are a huge NARS fan and you're looking for just one eyeshadow quad, especially neutrals, like one of these could be good. Then aside from eyeshadow quads, NARS is also launching some liquid eyeshadows, so these are the Sparkling Seduction Liquid Eyeshadows in 5 shades. Again, I think if you are maybe someone who needs like maybe one shimmer shadow and you want to pay the NARS prices, it could be good for you. The shades are nothing exciting, there's one more pink leaning shade, but otherwise these are pretty neutral, and then there is a more silver leaning one. Not something I would want to buy, especially considering how expensive NARS is, but I do think that, again, I can understand that for a average NARS consumer this could be something interesting if you're just looking for one well-done shimmer shade. Talking about all rainbow palettes, so Dede's Signature has launched Just Art palette, and this is a very traditional rainbow palette. I do have to say that these are a bit maybe more deeper and mid-tone rainbow shades, so I do think for someone who has a bit more like deeper skin tone than I do, this could actually be a very enjoyable rainbow palette because these shades, I would assume these will pop up also on much more of a deeper complexion, which is of course very good that we do get variation. Some of the shimmer shades are also looking pretty fun and exciting in this one, and I do think this looks to be... Is it maybe on the matte heavy side? No, I do actually think that this might be a 50-50 split between matte and shimmers. So I think that if you are looking for an indie rainbow palette to try out, and especially if you want the shades to be a bit more on the mid-tone and deeper side, this could actually be a very good option to look into, and as I also said, the shimmers do look nice. So, Glam Shop has actually come out with a new collection, so this is the BOSSka collection. Is it now someone who is Polish? Could you maybe say that does this mean coffee? Because this looks to be like a very coffee-inspired collection, at least based on the promo. I actually, when I was traveling in Poland, I would have liked to buy some Glam Shop, but unfortunately I think you can get Glam Shop in DM, and unfortunately I was visiting in Poland Poznan, which is a... it's one of the like bigger cities, but it's not like it's quite far away from Warsaw, which is the capital. But in Poznan they were more like Rossmann's rather than DM stores, and then when I went to, because we stayed in Germany for a few days, but on German DM the makeup selection it's very different compared to the Polish DM, or at least based on the website when I just checked in. So unfortunately this would have been like a brand that I would have finally been able to shop like in store, but as I said, on Poznan, at least where I was staying, we had more Rossmann's. I was actually trying to look for a DM store, and at least close by where we sort of had our hotel and where we were working and moving around with my husband, I was not able to spot a single DM store, which is something I was a bit surprised, because at least based on when I initially searched on the internet, I was like, based on online searches, I was thinking that it would be much easier to find a DM in Poland, but at least where I was staying, there was like several Rossmann's that I came across, but not a single DM store. So unfortunately, like maybe I would have been able to actually see this one in store, but no. The eyeshadow palette is actually one of the more two-sided, it has like 2 different sides. I'm a bit 50-60 about the fact that is this like 2-sided eyeshadow palette that you can close like this, that is it good or bad, because if you close it like this, you would think that also the shadows would get mixed in. And aside from the eyeshadow palette, I think there are also some brown leaning eyeshadow sticks. So as a collection, I would say that not the most exciting thing I think that Glam Shop has come out with, but I do think that if you are looking for a good neutral eyeshadow palette, and I do say for an indie brand this is pretty good quality, especially if you're shopping indie brands from Europe. So you can order this obviously from their website, and as I said, if you do live in Poland and you do live close to a DM, some of the DM stores have actually Glam Shop stuff in in store. Then something else from indie. So Glaminatrix has, this is apparently a relaunch, so this has been a few weeks of relaunches. So Glaminatrix has brought back Sandra Rose palette, so this is a palette that they previously had available on their selection, but I think this was one of the first palettes the brand might have released, so I think it's been obvious that they did discontinue at some point. So this is dedicated to the Glaminatrix's owner's mom, so I think there is a very sweet, like not sweet, but like sweet, but also a bit sad story. So apparently her mother passed away from cancer on 2012, and then also there is, this is also dedicated to also her daughter who is named Rose. So I think the Sandra was the mother's name and Rose is like the owner's daughter's name. So yeah, I do think as a color story it's a bit interesting. So we do have some like roses in this one, but then you also get some greens and blues. I think for me it is still a skip because we all know that the greens and blues, like sometimes there are like occasions that I do like those in my palettes, but in this case it's maybe a bit too green blue heavy. But I do think it's kind of nice that she brought this back, and obviously this must be a palette that means quite a lot to her personally. So I think if you like this color story, and especially if you maybe like the original palette but you wanted it in a more updated Glaminatrix formula, this could be now the time to get this one. So Makeup Revolution is coming out with a new setting spray. So this is the Superfix All Night Long setting spray from Revolution. So this is especially for those of you who are suffering from an oily skin. So this is probably something that is meant to hold your makeup through, even like no matter what kind of like conditions. So probably now, since it's been summer, and at least here in Europe it's been another quite warm summer, so this probably could be something to like hold off if you especially have your makeup melting because of the heat, or because generally you just have a pretty oily skin. I think for my skin type, again, because these days I have more of a dry combo skin, this is probably something that would be a bit too mattifying, but for those of you who have like oiliness on your skin, this could be a good like last step on your makeup routine. So MAC is launching some new highlighters. I'm thinking that are these because MAC has been like revamping their cheek products and generally their product line quite a lot during the last few years. So I'm thinking that is this a highlighter formula they previously had but they now maybe have updated. So this is the Glow Play Bouncy highlighter. So because it has the word bouncy, I assume it's one of those like squishy highlighters. So when you kind of press down the highlighter in the pan, it kind of goes squishy instead of like breaking down as something of a traditional powder highlighter would do if you do that to the product. I mean, it's an okay release. I do have to say, considering that MAC is again more approaching the like mid-range price category, I would very much maybe hope that they would improve their packaging. Like, even though they've been now revamping their like generally makeup line quite extensively, I do still think their packaging, like considering like the packaging that like for example Moira does, which is actually starting to be like pretty similarly priced when you start comparing. Actually some of the Moira products are a bit less expensive. But I think for example Moira is a good example from a more like mid-range approaching brand that still does their packaging, like the packaging is still quite nice considering the price point. But with MAC I'm kind of thinking that the packaging, it's quite plain. We are still seeing like this is like the highlighter for example is in a very basic like see-through plastic packaging. I think the new blushes are in a very basic black packaging that then have a clear cover on them. So for MAC, while I like probably the formula of this one is pretty good, but I just think that for the price point we can get something a bit like similar or that performs as well, and you would even get some nicer packaging. So for me this is a easy skip. So bellabeautébar is coming out with a new palette. So this is On Cloud 9 palette. So I was initially pretty excited when I saw the promo of this one, but then when it was revealed inside, it's a half blue, half, I don't know what that is, maybe like half red palette. Because it's half blue palette, it's a pretty easy skip for me. I do think the reddish berry side of the palette is okay, but then you have to consider that it's only like 6 pans on the other side. I'm also thinking that this is pretty shimmer heavy considering the amount of shades. So I do think that while the shimmer shades are pretty, I would probably have some issues creating looks with this one because I do enjoy having my mattes in mattes. I think for me, aside from the fact that yeah, it's a bit blue heavy for my taste, but also just generally maybe the assortment, like the balance of mattes and shimmers in this one, it's not something that's appealing to me. So then we have a new indie brand. I saw a couple of like influencers that I have seen promoting, for example, products on Monolith Shop's Instagram. I saw their videos. So this is the Blinky Cosmetics and this is Baroque Rose palette. Now this very much, when you look at the color story, it has some neutrals, there's some pink leaning things. This is a, what I would say, a spicy neutral palette, which were the thing during last year in the indie community at least. So I did try to dig out like what is this brand about, because so far on their Instagram page they only have promos for this one particular product, and I think I did click on their website. Based on the information, they do ship from China. I'm a bit unsure that are they also like based on China, because for example, a good example, Odensai is a Swedish-based brand, but they do ship and manufacture their products from China. They do ship from Hong Kong. With this particular brand, when I went to the FAQ and customer service section, which are usually the sections that you can kind of then find the information that, okay, but where is this like based from? At least the customer service information, the official address of the brand, I think it was based on Hong Kong. So I would be pretty curious to maybe see that more like aside from like Instagram promos, I would maybe hope to see that could there be like YouTubers who this brand has sent this out on PR, review this particular like product, see like just maybe get a bit more information that what is this brand about, like aside from the eyeshadow palette, are they planning to launch more product, how is the eyeshadow quality, because it's very easy to make something look nice in a short Instagram or a TikTok video, but I do think this is why I still appreciate good old-fashioned YouTube reviews, for the fact that then you get a bit more information about the quality in them. But as a palette, this is like very beautiful. This is like this is a palette that I know that in terms of color story would enjoy. I did check the pricing. The pricing, at least when I went to the website, did show that it's like close to $50. Then I do think I'm a bit unsure that the amount, did it already have the value-added tax that you do have to pay if you ship things to the European Union. So I'm a bit unsure that the price include the VAT already. And then I'm a bit unsure that would the price also, would there be like added like shipping cost to shipping this from China. So yeah, if you have better information about this brand, do let us know. But as a like palette, I am curious because this does look very nice, but with new brands, I would wish to see maybe a bit more people like showing this and maybe telling about how they feel about the quality, like a bit more in depth than just showing casing this in some videos. And then I think we're on the last launch of the day. This is actually just something that I spotted on my Instagram feed. So Fenty is coming out with a new full-on collection. So this is the limited edition Midnight Diamonds collection, and in this one there is this kind of cool black packaging, and then otherwise there is the diamond veil highlighter. I'm a bit unsure is the jelly-like bouncy formula. So is this actually a new formula, because wasn't the original diamond veil one, was it just a traditional? Okay, I can't actually say that was the original diamond veil formula, because that was the very like sparkly highlighter that even on the time when it launched, I think I went like that, okay, that looks very nice, but on my cheek it's gonna be like a texture full on, it's not gonna suit my particular skin type. But is this now reformulated or is it just limited edition packaging? I do have to say the black and white kind of theming, it is kind of nice. Then aside from the highlighter, we get two new gloss bombs, one in the black color and one in a clear color, but I do think this is meant to be maybe a bit on the more like sparklier side. Some of these gloss bombs have like more sparkle and some of them have less, depending on the shade variation. So the new shades are Caviar Crystal C, which is a shimmering holographic black, and Diamond Milk, which is a shimmering pearl. But wasn't Diamond Milk, I'm kind of thinking that was the white shade actually something that already existed on their line. Yeah, and then we are actually getting one of the glossy lipstick. So this is the limited edition gloss bomb stick in a high shimmer gloss stick, and this is the Caviar Crystal. So this is named similarly than one of the glosses. Based on the images, the gloss stick is actually like full on when you apply this black. So on deeper skin tone, especially if you are deeper skin tone and looking for a more cool tone lip color, this would be nice. On a very fair skin tone, like for me, this would be more of a goth style makeup, which is personally not something that I gravitate towards, even though I do think my makeup look today might look a bit grungy, so, but for me, I think based on the image, the gloss stick is looking bit too pigmented and bit too like deep for my particular lipstick preferences, but as I said, for especially deeper skin tone, looking for a cool toned lip stick, like glossy lipsticks, this could probably be something exciting. But yeah, I think this is now early access, I think, on US Ultas on Sephora. It has been on early access on US Ulta, so I assume it's gonna take a while for this to come to Fenty retailers. But if you are interested in these kind of products, keep your eye on your Fenty retailers, because I do think this might be something that is gonna launch also on other retailers pretty soon. Comment down below what were your favorite launches from this week. If you liked this video, push the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell button if you want to get notification from future content. You can also find me with the same nickname, Makeup Hedgehog on Instagram. I'll see you in the video soon. Bye bye!